Hey guys, what's happening? We're back after almost 6 weeks of not being in the cockpit. Revival has released another big patch for Overload. This is version 0.7 build 83. So before we get into it here, just looking at the patch notes, 2 words of caution. One is that I'm not playing the new story mode map. If you're looking for that, I advise you to play it on your own. I'm going to be going through it in the final release, just so it's not like fresh in my memory, because it's a new Descent campaign and I'm really excited for it. And then the other word of caution is that there aren't too many fundamental changes to how challenge mode works. No new maps, no new weapons, no new robots. A couple of robots were pulled from the super robot rotation. But I'm just really trying to get a sense of how the AI has changed in this patch. So this is really going to be more of an exploration in subtlety. And also, I haven't been in the cockpit in probably a month, like at least not regularly. So I would take all of this with a pretty large pinch of salt. My thinking on this is probably going to evolve over several hours of practice that I've been planning to put in now that this patch is out. So yeah, let's get into it and see what's new. Alright, so I guess an additional third and fourth caveats are, number 3, I fell asleep on my couch immediately after recording the intro for this, so I'm a little bit groggy, shaking off the sleep from that. Caveat number 4 is I did the first impressions video, and the microphone mixing was just so bad you could hear me like enunciate every other word, and it was just like this constant. The game was too loud, essentially. So I'm going to sort of compress my first impressions into hopefully a somewhat shorter video. There's, as I mentioned in the introduction, there really hasn't been much in the way of changes. So this is probably going to be a pretty abbreviated first impressions video compared to prior ones, just because not much has changed. At least in terms of like huge content to look at and all that kind of thing. There's a lot of subtle stuff. So like if you look at Hunters, Falcons, those assets have been changed a bit. I think the audio mixing for some of the robots has been altered. Shredders are a lot quieter. The lens are pretty much the same to me, personally. But they're all of uniform, whatchamacallit, volume now. There's a rear view camera right here. Ooh, that's pretty neat. Actually, I'm impressed with the rear view camera for all kinds of wrong reasons. I can't decide how it's done. Like, does it just turn off the rendering in front of the ship and then turn on the rendering behind it and in the same frame as that key press? Because the performance is really great. Like, it's too good for for rendering the full 360 around the ship. Like, that would just destroy my machine and probably a lot of other machines too. So the performance of that is like spot on first go. That's pretty great. I know a lot of people are clamoring for picture-in-picture, but that's probably not going to happen just because of the technical limitations, which is probably related to rendering the entire area around the ship, or at least the front and back viewports, so to speak. What else? There's a new minimal HUD. Let me put that on real fast. I'm not a huge fan of it. I can see how some people would be fans of this, where it's just like, ta-da, this stuff. There's really nothing to this. At least I think it's the minimal HUD. Let me try the reduce. Yeah, the reduce just has the tick marks. Either way, I'm not a huge fan of either. I really like the information design of the full package. There's a lot of stuff that I like about it. It's helpful. It's helpful to see the counts on both sides. It's helpful to see, the shield gauge right there. Trying to think of what else. I haven't noticed much in the way of performance changes. I also haven't gotten a pile of Novas. Things look a little bit softer. Just, lighting, explosions, etc. Explosions look a little fiery or smokier, something like that. The lights look a little bit more Michael Bay, just without the lens flare. What else? The games start a lot faster. This was a pretty good change that I saw in the patch notes, and you can definitely feel it. Things like heat up. They're like once you're in the match, you're in the fucking match. Like it is going. No more waiting around for, you know, more than 2 robots to spawn at a time, which was not like a significant problem, but it's like, okay, I've played the openers to these matches before. I have 5 minutes to kill between now and whenever things actually get heated. Now you're actually like making progress on the kill count pretty much immediately. I think density may or may not have been tweaked from before. Well, I'll have to play with it more and see. I think overall it gets a little bit denser than past builds. Reavers took pretty significant nerfs. You can deal with them as reasonable threats now. It's pretty great. Kind of on the fence about hit scan robots generally, and I know they're not hit scan, but they're effectively hit scan. Whatever action you take to counter them, you take damage regardless. At least if they've like locked onto you. I still think there ought to be some kind of telegraph mechanic. That Reaver explosion did like no damage. That's pretty great. I like that a lot. I think Golems took a pretty similar nerf in that they just don't do all that much damage when they run into you anymore. Where was I though? Yeah, the hit scan robots, Guardians, they look different, and they're also just generally a little bit softer targets now, which I like a lot. They're not... Nothing is a run killer, but they'll still sort of alter it. Which, I mean, that's the point of taking damage. Like, it's going to be a dynamic experience. And it's overall fairer than Cuphead, if anybody's played that. It's Game of the Year, but it's also going to win all of the Inconsistent Mechanic of the Year awards, but that is not this game. What else? Overall, I'm just going to have to like sit with it for a bunch of hours and just figure out how things have well and truly changed. There are a lot more weaker robot spawns now. The Harpies are back in the mix a lot. Goblins are back in the mix a lot. There's just a lot of not necessarily easy kills to grind out, but there's stuff that's like not necessarily a threat, but still things to dodge. If that makes sense. Like there's all those kills, but I had to like fly over here and get out of the way. What else? Some robots, especially like Super Wyverns, Super Hydras, etc. Their evade patterns are pretty demanding in terms of aiming skill, but like I probably mentioned, I've been in the cockpit for several weeks now. So a lot of this is just going to have to be like getting back in the groove. What else? Super missiles. Yeah, super missiles underwent a pretty major change. I picked one up in my prior impressions video that I'm not going to be able to use. We'll see if I get one here. I'll probably play until I do get one. But super missiles underwent a pretty nice change where they will now give you one count of your max for the secondary that it is. So like if you have like 100 super missiles or something, and you grab a missile pod. If you have 100 missile pods, and you pick up a super missile pod, you'll get a full count of that up beyond the max count. So you have 100, max is 100, you pick up the super missile pod, you're up to 200 now, and you won't be able to pick up any more missile pods, but you now have 200 sitting in your ship, which is pretty great. I can't wait to find like a heavier, one for a heavier missile, like a Nova or Devastator, and just like go to town. But it's definitely a change for the better. I'm not sure about drop rates. I've only seen one super missile so far, and that was in about 20 minutes of gameplay. A little less than 20 minutes in a second. 17, 18. But anyway. Yeah, see, a lot more harpies. Shredders are quieter. I don't think that's necessarily bad. It's definitely going to open a lot of people up to getting hit from behind more often, which is a little bit annoying, but I mean, you're turning around a lot in this game anyway, so. There we go. A few of the super robots were pulled, and I'm very excited to see what their upgraded forms, new forms, something like that, what those changes are going to be like. Since it was what, the Super Reaver, Super Guardian, which I'm always happy about getting a fast shooting robot pulled from the rotation, and a what was the last one? Super Kraken. So that's a pretty significant change because the Super Kraken has been in the game since, I want to say, the first or second early access build. And I don't want to say it's a notorious robot, but it's pretty challenging in its current form. So I'm interested to see how it's going to change, because otherwise we don't. It gets rid of a super robot that shoots missile pods. Man, I'm just all about these time bombs right now. It looks like the tracking on the missile pods appears to have been nerfed. Also, that was a very aggressive reader. Oh god, what the hit scans. I'm just gonna keep complaining about the hit scans until this game releases, and then some. Just constantly outraged by damage I can't avoid. Think of what else changed. I have the patch notes up next to me here. I'm sure I can get through those real fast. But I think this is it. Like, I think that covers all the pretty major changes. I haven't seen a super missile around here yet, but I'm sure someday maybe I'll get one. Whoa. Alright, so that first one may or may not have been a fluke, the first run that I did here, because I only got, I want to say it was like 115 kills, and I'm already up to like, yeah, 131, and climbing at almost full count, so that's pretty good. It's a good thing. How are you guys? I don't really have much to talk about. I covered it all in the first minute. It feels like the shredder hitboxes were dialed down very slightly. I feel like I'm dodging them when I shouldn't, and I'm okay with that, because a close shave with a shredder is wonderful. It makes you feel really good about your piloting ability. And then you fly like headlong into a golem or something like that, and you're just like, well, I am the worst person to ever play this game. just like picking stuff up, desperately trying to get a super missile to spawn so I can show off that mechanic. Missile pod tracking appears to have taken a nerf. Did I say that? I feel like I did. I was just like on a lower level. It's a good little surprise mechanic there out of the Super Hydra. Although if anything else did that, I'd be pretty annoyed. If anything else did that and were super accurate about it, I'd be pretty annoyed. Oh no, it wasn't the Super Reaver, it's the Super Scourge. Scourge? Whatever it is. The purple ones that shoot the purple things. It's like, I think I got that right. Yeah. Man, that Shredder hitbox is satisfying. Holy crap. I'm also noticing a lot more supers generally. Maybe it's this map, maybe it's this difficulty, maybe I'm just not remembering things correctly, but I don't recall this many. They're everywhere. Maybe I'm just seeing the same ones over and over again. Alright, so we're almost to 200. I think if this doesn't spawn me a super missile by 25, gonna pull the plug. Because like I've explained it, it's like the number gets bigger. You guys probably can figure that one out for yourselves. Yeah, it does almost feel like there are fewer missile spawns overall. Which I'm not totally happy about, because like I use missiles as I use secondaries as primaries and vice versa. So I guess I have to like actually be good at this game now. Did the impulse get nerfed? That did like nothing. Didn't. I don't know. Something weird about some of these weapons. And obviously, probably not remembering. Because I never put... Yeah, that's like 3 full hits from a impulse. Maybe I just have a weapon feel problem. Yeah, I feel like the impulse got nerfed. Which isn't great. Because the impulse was in a good spot. I hope it didn't change or anything. Yeah, the tracking, pretty much everything generally feels a little nerfed. And or I'm just not good at shooting. Yeah, the Reaver spawn noise was made to be very slightly quieter. Not sure if I'm a huge fan of that. Because, like, I hate Reavers, and they're just, like, too difficult, regardless of any changes that are ever going to be made to them. But, like, they're a little easier than they were, but I still want to know where they are. Blah, blah, blah. Holy, so many supers, my god. There's just a lot of them. Fuck. When did I get the rat? Oh, there we go. Yeah, alright, so that's 225. I'm gonna do one final pass on... Oh, here's the new Cloak AI. Mixed up a little bit. Not too certain what the changes were. Okay, the shredders will now randomly shred. And the reavers will randomly fire and charge. That's pretty good in terms of the Golem whatevers. The Golem AI, because I think if the reavers charge, it would make sense that the Golems do too, because they're mechanically very much the same robot. One just has a fucking gorilla on it. Oh, let me see if the Cyclone got any love. I'm feeling like it. Okay, so this is good. I'm always wishing the reavers would respawn. Ah! This is probably coming apart here, or maybe not. It's one of those runs, folks. Anyway, yeah. So that about covers it. Most of the info was pretty much shouted into the microphone in the first 5 minutes or so. I think this last patch cycle in the build 70s-ish, and this one now in the build 80s, and this is 83. It's signifying a change in the overall challenge mode meta, which I know it's early to like talk about this kind of thing, but we are sort of, I don't want to say approaching the end of development, but it's getting pretty late in the game here. And it's heading a little bit back into guerrilla warfare territory, which was the hallmark of early access builds. You know, we're talking April, May, March, April, May even. But I mean, if that's closer to what the final product is going to be, then I wouldn't expect us to see too many more records being set in challenge mode until, you know, the boards get reset on release. I definitely can and will be proven wrong, but I think by and large a lot of records may start getting locked in here, unless, you know, I get over 515 in this run after I close the video here. In which case, hey, open season. But yeah, I think it just takes some getting used to, and I'm still just like not really in that mode where it's like, okay, this is a difficult game now. It's going to be hard. I really think super robots, there's just too goddamn many of them. But yeah, as always, it's great. I'm not sure about any performance changes. I still haven't picked up more than like a Nova or two at a time, so I can't like be definitive about that. Obviously, this is gonna, my views on the game are gonna continuously evolve over several hours of playtime. I told myself, you know, I'd sort of take a break after the mid-cycle rebalance a couple of weeks ago. Now I'm right back into it. So I'm probably going to be on this grind a lot more in the coming weeks and probably, hopefully, months. So yeah, look me up on here. I'll probably be posting a lot more Overload videos as well as Rainbow Six. I've been playing a hell of a lot of that, which is fun as hell. Also, look me up on Twitch. I'm probably going to be streaming this and or Rainbow Six a lot. Then what? Yeah. What's the Twitch thing? Twitch.tv/CHILLYBUS if you want to jump in sometime. And then, yeah, that concludes the... I guess this is technically second impressions, but we'll call it first impressions anyway, because all I really did was marshal my thoughts again. This reproduction video. Just lost like all my shields. What the shit? Anyway, yeah, thanks for tuning in, and I guess I can't see you guys in the mines because multiplayer's not out, but I'll catch y'all in the next one.